emergency room in Lansing, Michigan till about 1 a.m. this morning.
No.
Yeah.
What happened?
That was a fun week. Really fun. Well, my son goes snowboarding a lot. He goes to Michigan State University, and he's in a business fraternity, and so they go on these snowboarding trips, and he's pretty good. Ex-wife and I got him a whole bunch of gear a couple of Christmases ago, and so he knows what he's doing, but I get a text from the ex yesterday. It says, hey, he had an accident. We're going to get some x-rays, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, keep me informed. You know, I always think of people like Tony Hawk, Shaun White.
Right.
You know, who are constantly getting hurt all the time.
Broken arm, not that big of a deal.
Well, still a pain in the ass, but you never know what's going to happen. And it's the Winter Olympics. Come on, for the 10 people that are watching that, it's a good time. So, and my ex-wife is a very good mom, but she is also, because of that, she's prone to freaking out prematurely. And so I'm kind of in this spot where I want to be cognizant of what's going on. I want to be kept in the loop, but I also want to know, like, where we are instead of where we think we are. Mm-hmm. Because for me, it's not a trip up the street to go check on my older kids. You know, they live in Michigan. So anyway, I was taking the little one to a movie yesterday. And
Jackass?
Huh?
Did she see Jackass? She probably would love it.
Did not see Jackass. No, didn't go see Jackass. And so literally as we're walking into the movie, like I've got the app open on my phone, the girl's going to scan it. I got the popcorn, I got the water. I'm literally walking into the movie with the little one, and the ex calls and goes, you got to get up here. He's in the ER, he's got internal bleeding and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I go, okay. So I'm like standing there in the lobby talking, and Nora's like, we're going to miss the movie. And I go, no, we're fine. So I said, listen, when you talk to a doctor, get back to me and tell me what's going on. When you talk to a doctor, call me. So we go into the movie, and I tell Nora, I go, hey, we're probably going to have to leave the movie early because Jude's hurt. And so then she's worried. I go, nah, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine, right? Well, about 45 minutes into the movie, she goes, look, because my daughter's freaking out, my older daughter, you know, because they don't know what's going on. So anyway,
Did you tell him that internal bleeding's not that big of a deal? Blood's supposed to be inside.
That's what I said. I said, listen, Dr. Bill Squire told me that...
that's where blood goes.
Right.
Do your research.
But over the years, in the time that, you know, because my children were they were both born in Pittsburgh, but my first wife and I split up when they were very little. And so for the bulk of their lives, I've been making these interstate trips at the drop of a hat, right? Much to the chagrin of whatever girl I was dating at the time, or, you know, Gwen is she knows what's up, right? Mm-hmm. So she's, anyway. So I text her and I go, I'm bringing Nora home. I got to hit the road. And I'm, you know, whatever. So I hit the road and I get up there. And sure enough, he's in the emergency room, and they got him on a morphine drip, and they're waiting to get these tests back. But because of COVID still, you can only be in the hospital room one at a time. So I get there, and the ex and my older daughter have to like leave, but because, you know, they're a good hour away from where they live because my son goes to state. And so I said, well, I'll stay here, and you know, you guys go, you know, my daughter's got school tomorrow. So I said, you know, take her home. We'll figure it out. So there's a whole lot of this stuff. But, you know, it's like a 3.5 hour trip for me, right? And I assume that, because who knows? Nobody knows what's going on. He's in there, and I go in and I talk to him, and he's kind of out of it, but he's okay. The Olympics are on. And
he feels great. If he's on a morphine drip, he's like,
well,
this is camp.
They weren't pumping him full of it. I shouldn't say a drip. They didn't have him on a drip. I think they stuck him a couple times.
Okay.
Because they're really...
I was like, the drip is when you're like... Bleh.
The doctors are really nervous now about getting people on morphine and keeping them on morphine and blah, blah, blah. So...
Why?
Bill, see me after the show, eh?
There's some sort of epidemic?
There's a documentary on Hulu I'd like you to watch called Dope Sick with Michael Keaton. So, anywho, we're waiting, in the interim, we're waiting for these CT scans to come back and all this stuff because they're like, we don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So my son shows me, he has a giant black and blue and purple, like, that goes up the entire side of his torso, right? A big old thing. Now, I think that this whole Donnybrook happened like earlier that day. It happened the day before. And they all went back to this house they were renting 3 hours north.
Partying.
And I said, alcohol, you thin your blood and all this kind of stuff. So, anywho,
Oh, God.
he goes, well, I didn't think, he goes, it was kind of small at first, but it hurt. And so we just went back to the house. He goes, but by the next morning, meaning yesterday morning, he goes, I could barely move. So we drove all the way back. They went, I think urgent care freaks people out. I've never been to an urgent care.
Ever?
No.
Wow.
Listen, I told my son, I go, it occurred to me that I had never been in a hospital bed until I had my colonoscopy over the summer. Wow. I'd never had an IV in me.
Yeah.
I'd never had I'd never been in a hospital bed. So I think urgent care sometimes freaks people out because he went to the urgent care first. Right, he's 21. He's no longer in our purview. Right, he's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Still on your health insurance, though.
Well, yeah, he's on the ex-wife's health insurance. So he goes to the urgent care, and they go, "You've got to get to an ER right now."
Yeah.
So they tell him all this stuff because they're looking at it and they're going, "We don't know what this is, but you should."
And they can't do anything there. So they're like, if you stay here.
See, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
what does an urgent care do?
Urgent cares can only do a certain amount of things, and they can only give out certain drugs too. So, like, if he needs whatever it might be, you can't get the same type of care in an urgent care.
If
it's
you
meant
have like
for
a sore throat or like you need like a bacterial infection,
something
or you
that you
need,
just essentially
sore
need
throat.
antibiotics,
like
or
if you have
a
strep
flu.
throat.
Yeah. So that's for things where it's like, I can't get in to see my doctor till next week. I'm sick right now.
Or it's a stopgap for getting to. Okay.
Like a small injury, like maybe stitches.
I don't even know if they can do stitches. They might glue
either.
it, to be honest with you. Like, they don't have a ton of things for you to
maybe
be able to do.
Maybe a splint
there.
on a finger or something. Nothing. Yeah, they're not doing.
I don't even know if they have an X-ray machine.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
I obviously I know
procedures.
it's not a trauma center, but I thought that they did maybe do X-rays or something. Anyway, so about 45 minutes later, the doctor comes back in with the CT, and she goes, "It's just a really gnarly looking bruise." So she's like, because I told him, listen, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I know a couple of things. And I told him, I said, listen, if this had been internal bleeding, you would have been vomiting. That bruise probably wouldn't have presented so quickly. You would have had some distension. You know, it's like
You would have felt it.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. So
Did they even look at WebMD? Come on.
you know what? I'm sitting there on my phone the whole time. I go, well, you could either have hemorrhagic fever, which, boy, let's not rule that out. So it was kind of a lot of mishigas, but I mean, you don't know.
You don't.
She goes, you got to get up here. I'm like, okay, I'm hitting the road, so I get back at like 6 this morning and,
My younger sister and my mom are both like that, where no matter what happens, it is worst case scenario.
And I'd rather err on the side of caution. I want to see my son. I mean,
right. But I've gotten several phone calls where my mom's like, your sister's in the hospital, you need to get up there immediately. And I'm like, okay, what are we dealing with? Because there's always that thought in the back of your mind where you're like, if this is the time she dies, I don't
Yep,
go.
and you don't show up, then it's literally you have that guilt for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Jerry, it's Frank Costanza. George is dead. Call me back. So
But he's okay.
He's okay. They said it was all confined to the soft tissue, which essentially means it's just a huge, huge, gnarly bruise. So
Did he hit a tree or something? Or?
No, I guess what happened was he was doing some runs. He was showing me some video. He's really nailing some of these runs. And he goes, I got up just what I felt like was a little too much speed, and it freaked me out a little bit. And he goes, and I kind of pulled my punch, twisted my body. Yeah. So he went off the ramp at an angle, and he was like 8 feet up in the air and landed where the front of his board hit the dirt, so to speak. And he went wham on his side. And when you're falling from that, it's like hitting concrete kind of. So. So he was in, but I don't know, we're all like looking at it and freaking out and, so it was the best case scenario in the end, but I was like, listen, Shaun White's retiring. I mean, it's, but yeah, so it's pretty wild. So what I'm trying to say is, long story short, I'm on no sleep. So it's going to be fun today. I'm going to get aggravated one or two times. We'll see what happens, right? I got money to give away. That's how gregarious I'm feeling.
Most important question, though. Did anybody film it?
Film
The crash.
No. He was showing me video, and I go, ooh, is this it? Because I thought that's what he was telling me. He goes, no, this was the one before. I was like, you don't have it? Because I wanted to see it. But,
see, I don't snowboard. Like, literally.
I used to, but not for very long.
I could have, went sledding down my stairs, when we had that big snowstorm. But other than that, no.
No, you're a badminton player.
Yeah, you're
He's an inside cat.
inside cat.
Poundcake's an inside cat. Okay, so let me take a break here. I will have the aforementioned money for you at 2:30. There's another $1,000 and a keyword to go with it for you to go fund yourself. So that's coming up. 35192 if you want to text for anything, and we'll be back.